Kenny, there's only one problem, right?
What's that?
We're on this thing, and there's no one to turn it off. Does that mean we're on here for, like, forever?
Well, in theory, that could happen.
Hello and welcome to our special look back at the past couple of months here on The Travel Show with me, Crystal Arwood. We're incredibly lucky to get to see and do such wonderful things around the world, so it's always difficult to choose our favourite things to show you again, but I do hope you enjoy them.
Anything like this? Whoa! Well, that was incredible. This guy's a real expert.
Like so many buildings here in Belchite, this church was completely destroyed during the fighting.
It's a daunting project that will cost at least another 30 million euros to complete.
We can imagine all the walls covered by frescoes.
This ride is getting bumpier and bumpier. It's almost like trying to stay on a fucking Bronco. Whoa!
On these 4 acres of land, Kenny has used 1,000 tons of recycled stuff to create 350 works of art.
Here's a hockey bot. It's made out of refrigerators.
Made out of refrigerators?
Yeah.
This year marks the 80th anniversary of the Spanish Civil War, a conflict that tore the country in two and led to the autocratic rule of General Franco until well into the 1970s. The war is still a difficult topic in Spain, and back in June I visited a village that's become a symbol of how painful it can be to deal with the past. One place where the scars of the Spanish Civil War are all too visible is the old village of Belchite in northeastern Spain. It's a ruin. Streets are filled with the remains of buildings that were blasted to pieces during the war, which started 80 years ago this month. Today, Spanish-language tours of the site cater to thousands of visitors from this country and across the world. This may be a very popular site for tourists, but for local Spanish people, the question of how to memorialise the country's civil war and fascist past is the subject of fierce debate. After the death of Franco and his dictatorship in 1975, Spanish political parties agreed to an informal pact of forgetting, which meant the country's nationalist past was widely ignored. But that's changed in the last decade or so. In 2007, a law was passed to condemn General Franco's regime and honour the war's victims. And many have called for a truth and reconciliation process, like in South Africa after the end of apartheid. Still, many believe that the past should simply be forgotten, including powerful symbols like the ruins of Belchite.
Hombre, indudablemente hay de todo, pero vamos, son los menos. Realmente la gente, la generación que vivió la guerra ya, la mayor parte por desgracia, ha desaparecido, porque tenemos que saber convivir unos con otros y yo pienso que esa es la mejor referencia que podemos tener para saber qué es lo que pasa o puede pasar si no sabemos vivir juntos.
The tourists I met here also believed that the site should continue to be preserved.
Es una buena historia para no volver a cometer las mismas equivocaciones que nuestros padres. Creo que no hay que correr tanto. Corremos mucho en la vida. Llega el momento de pensar un poquito más profundamente. Aprendamos de ello.
As the anniversary of the Civil War approaches, Spain will doubtless continue to debate how it will remember its past and perhaps 80 years is still not enough time to bring about a full and frank national conversation. But whatever happens, Old Belchite will continue to stand as a striking monument and a harsh reminder of what happens when national arguments turn to violence. Aiming to heal old wounds in Spain back in June. In a minute, Raja will be tackling huge sand dunes in China in a buggy. But before that, a month ago, we delved even further back into European history when ADE went to Rome to discover how crowdfunding is coming to the aid of a palace owned by the Emperor Nero almost 2,000 years ago.
Few cities in the world can rival Rome's wealth of artistic heritage. When you're here, without even trying, you can spot so much history. But the building I'm most interested in seeing is Nero's Domus Aurea.
Nero's Golden House is like so beautiful, and it provided the inspiration for a lot of the architecture here in Rome. Even some of the paintings and frescoes in the Vatican copied Nero's style. And if they can't find the funding to restore Nero's Golden House, a really important part of Rome's history could be lost forever.
Nero was the 5th Roman emperor and the last of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. His palace was built between 64 and 68 AD, and it was definitely meant to get the neighbors jealous. After Nero's death, his palace fell into disrepair and eventually became buried underneath centuries of urban development. That was until 1930, when the sections you can see today were first excavated. And it's a daunting project that will cost at least another 30 million euros to complete.
What was it like, you know, when this was first built? How did it feel, the sound?
Yes, the sound, the colors, the entering of the light.
So there was light coming in
Yes.
as well. And these are fantastic.
Yes, because we can imagine all the walls covered by frescoes or marble slabs.
What's obvious to me is that excavating and preserving the palace is a massive task, and it's a real race against time.
E naturalmente abbiamo dei fondi che il Ministro ha messo a disposizione, ma abbiamo bisogno di molto aiuto e quindi noi contiamo che con il crowdfunding si possa raccogliere fondi per il restauro di questo grande monumento.
So far, only 21,000 euros have been raised via crowdfunding, and most of that has come from tourists rather than Romans themselves. But what the project has done is raise awareness of the urgent need to find new funding models when it comes to excavation and preservation. And while crowdfunding might not be the total answer to the problem, it could certainly prove to be part of the solution.
% of China's landmass is desert. And right now, we're in one of the world's most famous, the Gobi. Up until now, there wasn't much use for this land, but then tourism came along with some other ideas.
The desert park is 27 square kilometres of soft sand and hilly dunes, and this is a taste of the fun and games they're planning here. A 31-seater wave-surfing desert galleon. But if you want something more edgy, then there is always this.
Right on the edge of this sand dune, I can't believe it. Let's go round. Whoa! Way up the hill. Whoa, it's very steep hill. I can't believe it. We're going round. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's a quick turn. And a swift turn again. And he's doing a right turn. Whoa! Well, that was incredible. This guy's a real expert, and we're going right by the side of the tops of inclines, and I think we're going to fall, or we don't. And it's very scary.
Well, I'm in the hands of a good driver, and that's the best I can hope for, but it's frightening.
Daniel Pugh is a local investor who has big plans for the area.
This place was always unique, but now it has been a center for the entertainment for the local people. People meet in summer days and then enjoy the barbecue and do some family activities.
So a tourist will come into the gates here, and what will happen to them? What will they experience?
You know, at the very beginning, this is just, empty sand. If it's just that, this place is nothing. But with these cars, you can enjoy the fun to drive in the cars and try different activities to be closer with nature. The nature doesn't mean just forest and the water pond. It also means this desert.
Daniel's confident that the growing Chinese middle class will look to escape the cities and explore the country's nature more. What kind of tourists can you imagine coming here in the future?
All tourists. Actually, everyone, when you get here, you will enjoy a different life. I think it's a kind of enlightenment to your own life.
Do stay with us on the travel show, because coming up...
That is astonishing.
We meet an artist who's living his own version of the American dream.
How we'll get men on Mars or people on Mars isn't going to happen by how things fit in with other things.
Well, next up, in our look back at the past couple of months here on the travel show, we've got a couple of conservation stories for you. In a moment, Carmen finds out how the bears that were once the inspiration for the Paddington series of books are now being protected in Peru.
It's incredible to be so close to a bear. She's just there, a few meters away.
And in Cambodia, Henry joined a patrol that takes on poachers who prey on local wildlife.
Koh Kong Province, a quiet corner in the southwest of Cambodia, an area made up of a vast coastline, partially inaccessible rainforests, and barely a tourist in sight. But from this summer, travelers will be given the opportunity to pay to experience what the rangers on the front line of trafficking and logging here are dealing with.
That is shocking, to say the least. Have a look at how many chainsaws they've actually commandeered from these illegal loggers. How many would you say there are, Eddie?
It's over 500, I'll say, yeah. But this piece of timber, which you see it here, look, this is the rosewood, the famous rosewood, which is the more expensive.
Right, okay.
In China, it's cost $20,000
$20,000
per cubic meters, yes.
And these
table chairs.
These would just be looped around a tree,
yes,
waiting
yes,
for something to come
yes,
along.
Yes.
Put
and
a foot
course,
in there,
yes,
and then
get in.
tighten.
Yes.
So, time for me to take on the criminals. Kind of.
All right, let's go. Scary. We were stopping for a little bit of a water break. In the distance, there were two guys on a motorbike who literally just leapt on their bike and ran off. And luckily, one of the guys actually saw that, started chasing. And what's happened is they've dropped whatever they were carrying, and this was it, rosewood.
Rosewood, yes.
The perpetrators are too quick to get away this time. It's clearly a tough job for these rangers. Just making our way through the forest is hard enough. This deforestation is destroying animals' habitats, and that's not the only man-made dangers they face here. The remains of snares can be found all around.
It's a strong piece of stick, okay? Yep. Planted on the ground. So when he's coming, he's getting this piece of fruit, whatever it is, and he's getting caught in.
Right. So there's a bit missing here.
Yes, it's missing piece of rope, and I believe something else is missing.
So a lot of these traps are designed to maim rather than kill, so they can collect them alive.
Yes.
Having seen the indiscriminate damage that snares like these do to even much larger animals than their intended targets, it's quite shocking to see one up close. But witnessing it myself, I also come face to face with the brutal impact this can have.
The Andean bear is the only native bear species to South America. It's on the endangered list because of hunting and habitat loss. But here, in the Chapare area, they're doing something about it. This is Peru's first private conservation area, set up jointly with the local community in 2000. It tries to rehabilitate rescued bears that have been captured illegally and mistreated as exotic pets or circus attractions.
We have them here in these enclosures so they get used to the fruits and the dangers.
Most animals kept in captivity are unlikely to survive in the wild, but here they're doing all they can to change that.
When bears are born here, they learn the things that they can eat and the things that they can't eat. These bears are good candidates to be released.
4-year-old Elisa was born in this reserve. So this is Elisa's mother next door?
Yes.
Her mother, Azulina, was rescued from captivity, where she'd been kept as a house pet. Sadly, she would never survive in the outside world.
We're gonna sedate Elisa.
Okay.
And we're gonna set up a
Collar?
GPS collar on her.
The GPS collar will now allow Juan to track Elisa when she's released. Okay, so is that the job done?
Okay. Wait until tomorrow, and tomorrow we're gonna release her.
Okay. So it's a beautiful morning, and today's the day we're going to release Elisa into the wild. I'm super excited. Oh, here she comes, here she comes. Juan and his team entice Elisa out of the cage with some food, and she takes her first steps towards freedom. It's incredible to be so close to a bear. There's no gate, there's no fence separating us. She's just there, a few meters away. It looks like she's enjoying her first wild fruit.
I think she just realized that she is in the wild.
From here on, Elisa faces an uncertain future. But the GPS collar will track her whereabouts, so Juan and his team can see how she adapts to life in the wild.
I'm very happy for her. Since she was born, we were waiting for this moment.
Well, to finish up this week, it's a bit of a travel cliche to say it's the people who make a place, but Rajan certainly found that out when he went to Palm Springs and met an artist who's living his very own particular version of the American dream.
Wow, look at that. That is astonishing.
Welcome to the wacky world of Kenny Ingram Jr. An artist whose work is now luring sightseers away from Frank Sinatra's old house around the corner to see this fantastical creation instead.
I've been working on my art for, well, I would say at least the last 4 decades since I've been living, breathing.
Really?
Yeah, I was just born an artist.
On these 4 acres of land, Kenny has used 1,000 tons of recycled stuff to create 350 works of art so far.
Here's a hockey bot.
And what's that?
It's made out of refrigerators.
Made out of refrigerators?
Yeah. Right there's the Robo Bear. It's made out of an air conditioning compressor. And that's Santa's battle wagon up there.
That is astonishing. What are the reindeer made of?
everything. Basically, everything is made of everything.
It's made of everything.
Yeah.
And that is the what bunny?
This is the Mongolian Easter Bunny's mobile throne.
I'm just reading this. This is one of the world's only 2 microwaved microwaves.
That is correct. This is a genuine microwave. That I literally microwaved a microwave while it was microwaving. I'm the only one in human history that's ever successfully pulled off this accomplishment. People come from Germany, Japan, the United Arab Emirates, France, India, all different places told me they came here just to see this.
Where do you think this fits in, or you fit in even, to contemporary America?
I don't know where it could fit in. I don't think it fits in anywhere really to speak of. How we got men on the moon and how we'll get men on Mars or people on Mars isn't going to happen by how things fit in with other things. It's going to happen by how things that have never been done before is how it's going to happen.
Okay, actually physically can't get in.
Of course you can fit in there. You're not that big.
I'm not that big at all. Do you think grown-ups should be riding around in these too?
Absolutely. There's no excuse not to.
Kenny, there's only one problem, right?
What was that?
We're on this thing, and there's no one to turn it off. Does that mean we're on here for like forever?
Well, in theory, that could happen.
And it goes without saying that if you're thinking of microwaving your microwave at home, please don't. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's show. Coming up next week...
That is just astonishing.
Addie's in the ancient city of Petra in Jordan, searching for treasure.
A part of a jar or a huge plate or something like this.
I've never seen such an unobstructed 360-degree view.
And Ben's up high in Serbia, using your tips to get a better view of Belgrade. Hopefully you can join us then. In the meantime, you can catch up with us on social media, and all the details you need are on the screen now. But for now, from me, Crystal Larwood, and the rest of the Travel Show team, it's goodbye.